You know this scene. You have seen it in your own street. The shutter that never rose again. The garlanded photograph. The lamp. A business died here. Look again. This is not a mourning. This is a reopening. The man in the photograph founded this shop. The woman lighting the lamp is his daughter. The tribunal's order came. The property was restored. Today, 3 years of darkness end, and they garland the founder, not in grief, but in report. Appa, we kept it. And this is the other shop, the one directly opposite. Same street, same bank, same law. That shutter will not rise, because the man who should be sitting in that chair did not wait for his hearing. Tonight is not an episode. It is a letter to you and through you to the nation. About the shutters that rose, the chairs that emptied, an octopus, a goose that lays golden eggs, and a morning that does not exist yet, but could. For 8 episodes, I told you the enemy was an elephant. Tonight, the first twist of this letter, I was being kind. An elephant, at least, you can see coming. What the small entrepreneur actually faces is an octopus. One body, many arms, and every arm working at once. One arm holds the statute with its 60-day countdowns. One holds the tribunal that answers to the ministry that owns the banks. One holds the recovery agents. One holds the credit score that strangles tomorrow's loan because of yesterday's monsoon. And the quietest arm of all holds the stigma, the neighbor's look, the relative's whisper, the word defaulter stamped on a human being. Meet one more composite, the retired branch manager. 31 years in a nationalized bank. And if you sat with him, as I have sat with many like him, he would tell you something that will complicate your anger. Beta, I cried in my car the evening we auctioned the weaver's unit. But my inspection was due. My NPA numbers decide my career. If I show mercy and it goes wrong, the vigilance file opens on me. The system gave me 2 choices, be cruel to him or be accused myself. Do you see it now? The bank employee is also in a tentacle. The good officer, the honest valuer, the tired presiding officer racing a mountain of files. The octopus holds them too. This was never truly ant versus elephant. It is everyone versus a design. And you cannot fight a design with anger. You redesign it. Now, the part of this letter I would give anything not to have to write. Every year, the National Crime Records Bureau publishes its tables. And in those tables, there is one cold heading, bankruptcy or indebtedness. Under that heading, year after year, the nation counts its dead in thousands. Across a decade, tens of thousands of our own people. I want to say something directly, and I want you to hear it as a doctor's words as much as anything else. If a debt is sitting on your chest tonight, a loan is a chapter. It is not the book. Businesses fail in every nation on earth. Most first businesses fail. And the men and women who built this country's proudest enterprises carry old failures in their pockets like worn coins. Your family does not need the property. It needs you. Talk to someone tonight. The number is on your screen. And then, tomorrow, we fight the paper with paper. But this letter is not only to the ants. It is to the nation. Because a country marching toward Viksit Bharat 2047, a developed India, must ask itself one forensic question about those tables. What kind of recovery system is it that recovers money and loses citizens? Aesop, one last time. A farmer's goose laid a golden egg, one each morning, and the farmer grew rich, and then grew greedy, and then grew impatient, the fatal disease of the strong. He reasoned, why wait for eggs? The gold must be inside the bird. He took his knife. You know the ending. There was nothing inside but a goose, and there were no more mornings. Now the third twist of this letter, the one that turns the whole series on its head. For 8 weeks you thought the ant was small, and the stakes were one family shop. Wrong. The ant is the goose, the entrepreneur, the risk-taker who mortgages a family home to build something from nothing is where jobs come from, where taxes come from, where the deposits in the elephant's own vaults come from. 63 million small enterprises, the majority of this country's employment outside the farm. When a recovery system treats every stumbling entrepreneur as a criminal to be stripped, rather than a national asset to be revived, when it takes the knife to every struggling goose, it is not being strict. It is eating its own future, one golden morning at a time. The banks need the ants more than the ants need the banks. A nation of Viksit Bharat's ambition cannot be built by lenders alone. It will be built by borrowers who dared, if they survive the daring. The Panchatantra's most political story. A drought drove a herd of elephants to a lake, and their march crushed the burrows of the hares who lived on its banks. The hares could not fight. One footstep would end them. So they sent not an army, but an envoy, one small hare, who climbed a rock, bowed to the elephant king with perfect courtesy, and pointed at the lake, where the full moon trembled on the water. The moon himself dwells in this lake, Majesty, and your herd disturbs his rest. The elephant king looked at the shivering reflection, bowed to it, and led his herd gently by another path. So now, the final movement of this letter. Close your eyes with me. Imagine an ordinary Tuesday morning, some years from now. Imagine the newspaper, and let me be absolutely clear as I read it. Imagine a directive reminding every presiding officer of every debt tribunal that natural justice and the spirit of the welfare state are not decorations on the Constitution, that behind every recovery file sits an entrepreneur who once dared and a family who co-signed the daring. Imagine the tribunals delinked at last from the ministry that owns the biggest litigants before them, housed where the Supreme Court's own judgments have said, for 25 years, tribunals belong. Under the wing of the judiciary, independent in appointment, funding, and fact. Imagine propriety audits, CAG-grade scrutiny, reaching branch-level recovery decisions. Every valuation, every reserve price, every failed auction answerable to an auditor who serves neither the bank nor the borrower, but the republic. Imagine a National Commission on Credit Justice, jurists, economists, bankers, and borrowers at one table, rebalancing the recovery law. Revival before seizure for every viable enterprise. The redemption window restored. The goose recognized in statute as a national asset. Imagine the word defaulter retired from our vocabulary for the honest failure, replaced by what every developed nation learned long ago to say, entrepreneur, between ventures. None of that is law today. None of it has been announced. It is a moon on the water, and I have shown it to you exactly as the hare showed it, with courtesy, with respect for the herd, and with total honesty that it is a reflection of what could be. But here is what the fable knew, and what our Constitution knows. In a republic, the moon becomes real when enough small voices point at it together. Every great reform this nation has made began exactly this way, as a vision citizens refused to stop describing, until Parliament and the courts, in their own wisdom and their own time, made it morning. You know Aesop's shortest lesson. One stick snapped by a child, the bundle unbreakable by the strongest man. The old father never said a word of philosophy, he just handed them the bundle. And now, the last twist of this whole series. Go back to episode 1. I told you this was the story of an ant and an elephant, and you assumed you were the audience. You were never the audience. You are the colony. Every one of you watching is one stick, one comment, one share. So here is the call, and it is the only call this series will ever make. Comment below, one word, present. And beneath it, if you wish, one respectful sentence. Your single best idea to make credit recovery humane, lawful, and worthy of Viksit Bharat 2047. That is how a movement of awareness is born, not with slogans, not with anger against any institution, but the hare's way, courteously, constitutionally, pointing together at the moon. We will read every idea. We will compile the 100 best into a Citizens Memorandum, respectful, reasoned, referenced, and place it where citizens' ideas belong in a democracy, before the public, for lawmakers and jurists to weigh in their wisdom. The government builds, the judiciary guards, the citizen imagines out loud. That is the division of labor in a republic, and tonight you are on duty. 2 shutters up on one street. That is what winning looks like when a colony does it. The Ant and the Elephant was never a war story. It was a love story about a country that must learn to love its risk-takers while they are still alive to feel it. Comment, present. Drop your one idea. Light somebody's lamp. This has been The Ant and the Elephant. I'll see you in Season 2. Jai Hind. Do you remember them? The father from the 2 a.m. table. The notice he once read 11 times a night now sits at page 1 of his own paper book. Tabbed, numbered, answered. The widow whose husband still received the bank's letters. She has brought the envelope. The bank wrote to a dead man. Today the living reply. And the old serviceman from the gate, who was told, sub judice, we cannot interfere. Carrying every refusal he climbed past, converted into paper, exactly as Rule 5 promised. 3 ants, 1 corridor, months of method behind them. Tonight, the question this entire series has been walking toward, the question you have earned the right to ask. What does it look like when the ant wins? And I will answer it honestly. The victory, the price of the victory, and the one prize no tribunal has the power to give, because it was won somewhere else entirely. Welcome back to Dr. Mind Forensics. For the last time in this series, let us finish it the way we began, with a story. The Panchatantra saves its greatest story for the trapped. A king of pigeons led his flock down to a field of scattered rice, and the net closed over all of them. The hunter came running, already counting his money. The pigeons panicked, each bird thrashing alone, and the net only tightened. And then the king spoke, "Stop! Alone we are feathers, together we are wings. On my word, all of us, at once." And the flock rose as one bird and carried the hunter's own net into the sky. But the story is not finished, because flying with a net is not freedom. The king flew his flock to an old friend, a mouse, and the mouse did what no eagle could have done. Thread by thread, not all at once, not dramatically, thread by thread, his small teeth cut the net until every pigeon stepped out. Everything this series has taught you is in that one story. The net is the recovery machine. Rising together is the family that stops hiding the notices from each other and fights as one. And the mouse's teeth? The mouse's teeth are Section 17, cutting the net thread by thread. Each thread has a name you now know. The unserved notice, the suppressed valuation, the unreconciled demand, the dissolved firm, the ignored reply. No single thread frees you. Every thread counts. That was always the whole secret. So, when the last thread parts, what does the ant actually hold in its hands? Let me answer as precisely as the law does. 1. The measures fall. The possession, the sale, unwound. 2. The property comes home. The widow's house returns. 3. The sale is set aside. 4. The money flows back. 5. The file travels upward. Restoration, refund, compensation, costs. That is what winning looks like, in ink. But now I owe you Aesop's sternest story, because this channel promised never to sell you a fairy tale, even while telling you fables. On a riverbank stood a mighty oak, and beside it, a reed. The oak mocked the reed daily. "You bow to every breeze. Have you no spine?" The reed answered only, "The wind and I have an understanding." Then the storm came, the real one. The oak stood rigid, magnificent, immovable. And at midnight, with a crack heard across the river, it went down, roots in the air. At dawn, the reed was still there. Here is the storm nobody shows you in the victory stories. These cases take time. Bending is not surrender. Bending is what roots look like from above. The families that come through this are never the rigid ones. They are the reeds. They bend. They attend the hearings. They refile the reply. They accept the adjournment without breaking. The father from the table? There was a hearing where nothing happened. He came home and his daughter asked, "Did we win today, Appa?" And he said, "No, Kana. Today we simply did not lose. That is also a day." One last story, the smallest one. It was always going to end with an ant. An ant, drinking at a stream, was swept in by the current, drowning, invisible, one speck in moving water. A dove on a branch saw it, plucked a leaf, and let it fall. The ant climbed on and reached the shore. Weeks later, a hunter crept toward that same branch, net raised, the dove unaware. The ant, remember, a creature that could not even survive a stream, did the one thing its size permitted. It climbed the hunter's boot and stung his heel. The net flew wide, the dove flew free. Why did our grandmothers end with this story? Because it answers the question that comes after winning, the question the father in the corridor will face on the day his file closes. Now what? And the answer is, you become the dove's leaf. Somewhere tonight in some other town, there is another 2 a.m. table. You cannot fight their case, but you can drop the leaf, forward the video, explain the 45 days, tell them the sparrow's plan, sit with them for one evening and help them label the first folder. Knowledge of the path is the one thing the elephant cannot afford everyone to have. Every viewer who passes it on stings a heel. And now, the confession this whole series has been keeping. The true answer to tonight's question. What does it look like when the ant wins? It is not the day the order is pronounced. The victory happened months earlier, on an ordinary night no court recorded. The night the father capped his pen at the table. The night each of them stopped whispering. The tribunal restores the property. It cannot restore the whisper, because the whisper was never taken. It was surrendered, and it can be unsurrendered tonight. The ant and the elephant. 8 Mondays, 8 rules. Carry them. 1. Tribunals discount indignation. They cannot discount an unserved notice. 2. The bank's silence is your loudest evidence. 3. Deemed served is a presumption. Presumptions die when the records speak. 4. Cheap auctions are not accidents. Ask who benefits. 5. Police inaction is not a wall. It is evidence. Climb it. 6. Might is answered with method, pebble by pebble, before winter comes. 7. The elephant's own file is the ant's best witness. And tonight, the last one. Rule 8, the only rule that is not about the elephant at all. The ant's real victory is the night it stops whispering. Everything after that is paperwork. This series ends, the work does not. Next month, Season 2, the loan insurance you were never told existed, the shield the law built for small enterprises, and how banks step around it. The forensic science of reading your own account statements. Subscribe, press the bell, and until then, one request. Somewhere in your phone contacts is an ant who thinks it is alone. Tonight, drop the leaf. Nothing in this series is legal advice. Consult a qualified advocate for your own case. Thank you for walking these 8 Mondays with me. Jai Hind.